A narcissist will never admit any kind of fault or weakness, and they especially won't admit to what they're afraid of. However, this video is going to blow the lid off the secret fears that narcissists have that they never, ever want you to know about. When the time comes and a narcissist begins to lose the affection and attention of one of their supply sources, it sends them into pure panic mode. Why don't you care about me like you used to? Aren't you scared of losing me? Aren't you worried that you're not keeping me happy? A narcissist knows they have to sort out what's happening. However, they might act and show you that they don't really care, that you're not as interested as you used to be. In fact, they might actually go silent and even discard you, and it can seem as if it doesn't bother them at all. But rest assured, just because they might behave as if nothing has changed, they are in a tailspin. When they see your affection wavering and you're just not as keen on them as you used to be, they can't help but to be scared of this. So in some scenarios, they might chase after you, buy you gifts, beg to see you. They want to spend all this time with you. They might even give you one of those big, ultimate, grand gesture-y type of things, like a proposal or something like that. They might respond, as I mentioned, by just going radio silent and looking for a new source. Honestly, most narcissists are going to do both of these things. They're going to try to regain control over you or whomever, respectively, whoever they feel that they're losing control of. But they know they're losing. So nonetheless, they're going to decide it's time to find a new source who will be in love with them after a fresh batch of love bombing. They're typically always doing both, trying to hold on to what they have while trying to look for something new. The simple act of you not responding to a text message quickly enough can strike fear in a narcissist that, they're not talking to me. They're not responding to me. They must have one foot out the door. They're talking to somebody else. Something's happening. And if you're a particularly high value source, they have this fear way more often than you actually think they do. Have you ever gotten one of those grand gestures from a narcissist? What was it? Share with me down in the comments. Narcissists always have a very, very big fear of exposure. It could be detrimental to a narcissist for you to expose them for who they really are. Self-involved users, vultures, really. You could expose them at their job, to their peer group, and cause them to lose huge amounts of supply. And that ties nicely into my first point of losing the interest of one of their supply sources, or more than one. These two big major areas of concern for narcissists are about losing supply and losing those who they rely on to get their fix of money, power, control, attention, a roof over their head, fancy stuff, sex, you name it. They can't have any of their meal tickets catching wind that they're pathetic leeches. You could perhaps expose a cheating narc to their spouse, or vice versa. The list is really endless of how you could ruin a narcissist. I read a fascinating article or a blog or something, this was like so many years ago, about a narcissist in a small town. And it ended up coming out, what they were doing, how they were treating people, and they were getting, of course, a bad reputation. And at the end of the article, it said the narcissist had been exiled and felt so outcast and so alone. The town basically shunned them and turned away. The narcissist actually packed up their shit and left the state. They just packed up and left. I read this years ago, and it's always stuck with me how bad exposure can be for them if and when it happens. Losing supply, of course, a big fear, but there's another really big downfall that narcissists have. And Survivor, you and I know what it is. The ego. The massive yet frail ego of a narcissist is where a lot of the little secrets live. Let's talk about rejection. Something a narcissist is going to avoid at all costs. At the beginning of my video, I spoke briefly about how a narcissist might choose to discard you or another source, again, respectively, if they sense that this person isn't into them anymore. And they're just not feeling it. Well, this is another reason why. If they leave you first, then they rejected you. You didn't have the time to reject them. You didn't do the breaking up. They did. They leave, and the breaking up allows them to, spin a yarn about how they had to leave you. You were the awful one. You weren't giving them attention, blah, blah, blah. I mean, am I right? How many times are they going to sing this same song? A lot of narcs will go well out of their way to avoid rejection, but when they can't avoid it, they dive down deeper into their delusional little brain. If they ask a person out on a date, for example, and the person says, oh, no, no, thank you. A narcissist will take this incredibly hard, very personally, get angry, get sad, and begin to think, well, you know what? I only did it because I felt so damn sorry for him anyway. I didn't want to waste my time on that little puke anyway. If a narcissist is having a hard time finding supply or maintaining it, they're gonna make the excuses. They're gonna go to their justifications as to why they're in a slump over admitting that it just plain scares them. Common excuses are, I'm too busy with my kids to do this. I'm too busy with my job, or nobody knows what they want, so I'm not going to date right now. There's always something else or someone else that is the reason for the failing or the rejection or the fear. And as we ride on this little ego train, quite similar to rejection, I feel that these go perfectly hand in hand, embarrassment and humiliation. But I feel like a lot of this is like self-explanatory in this little thing here, so I just kind of wanted to mention it, give it its own bullet point, and then move on. But if you ever embarrassed the narcissist that you had to deal with, tell me what happened down in the comments. I actually want to talk about a fear that I find far more fascinating than embarrassment and humiliation, which is their fear of confrontation. I personally find this fascinating because they're so argumentative, they're so cocky, they're so sure of themselves, they think they're a genius. But 9 times out of 10, when you step to them, their tail goes in between their legs. And maybe you've even seen this, survivor. A narcissist freaks out when you call them out on their bullshit, or you tell them that you want a conversation about their behavior or the relationship or hell, anything. When you're confronting a narcissist, you're feeling good usually. You're feeling powerful, feeling strong. You want answers. You want to talk. You're calling this person out. Hey, you lied, you cheated, you stole, whatever the case may be. And I know about it and we're talking about it. Imagine how all of this is going in the mind of a narcissist. You're sorting out who they are. That little perfection bubble has now been popped. You're exposing them. We already talked about how much that bothers them. It sends a chill down their spine. They can't have you figuring all of this out, and you are. You're confronting, you're putting the pieces together. You're saying, hey, I'm realizing that you're a dishonest person. It's truly the beginning of the end when you begin to confront this person. They don't want to have all of their bullshit thrown up in their face. They don't know how to handle it. They are not going to have a rational conversation with you. So what did you call out the narcissist about? Let me know down in the comments. Narcissists have huge fears as well when it comes to things like regret about something or having to apologize, remorse. Because if we think about it, when you have remorse or when you have regret, self-reflection is bringing you to the conclusion that you made a mistake. Maybe you acted out of line, said something that you shouldn't have, whatever. Narcissists are not going to go down that road. They're not going to go down little self-reflection lane and admit that they did anything wrong. Again, we're going to revert back to the excuses and the justifications as to why they don't have to apologize and they don't have to feel bad. Their behavior was acceptable. Their behavior was excusable. Just like how they deal with rejection when I talked about that. they're going to do it here. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I cheated on them, but they weren't spending enough time with me. So, I mean, what else was I supposed to do? Well, I had to take the money. I have bills, I have rent to pay. What am I going to do? Just not have money? Well, yeah, sure, I told them off. I yelled and screamed at them, but they weren't giving me my way. That's how we're going to deal with this as someone who's narcissistic. Coming this close to admitting any wrongdoing or fault, things like that, scare a narcissist absolutely stupid. It ruins that little delusion that I keep talking about, that world that they live in, where they see things the way they want to. They're perfect, they're amazing, and everybody else is shitty and horrifically flawed. Ironically, narcissists greatly fear themselves. Another huge thing that I think is more interesting to talk about than other fears that they have. A narcissist creates a very false image of themselves, and I'm sure that you've seen it. They might act very cocky or very over the top. They might be overly flirty, seem very confident, almost as if they have a superiority complex. You might think, wow, this person's kind of an ass. They're so full of themselves. They show off their possessions or their looks, and they have everything. So nice, so giving. It's the false version of themselves. It's kind of like narky witness protection. When it's not safe to be you, well, become somebody else. Be who people like or who you think people will like. However, narcissists definitely know the truth about who they really are. They know that all of it is fake. That's why it only lasts so long. The fake, false narrative, story, and all of this, that superiority complex, is all just hiding the true inferiority they feel underneath. These people are so scared of so much, they're actually scared of themselves. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe if you haven't for more videos on narcissistic abuse awareness, support, and education. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself.